Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead. He's never going to do a seller finance deal. He's never going to convince an old curmudgeon like you for you to sell him his business and have you use your money to buy the business back from you. That you won't live long enough, either will he. There's certain absolutes. And he's one of them. I was hoping he'd sue me. He still might. Hope springs eternal. You know, I've had 5 miracles happen in my life. Sally, 3 kids, and Corona. Corona's the only good fucking thing that's ever happened to me in business. I made a lot of money. God himself, Allah, came down and says, you've been a good soldier. Here's a parting gift to you. Corona. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. I thought LinkedIn was the 5th thing that back in the day, because LinkedIn was made for us. Fuck LinkedIn. And the horse you rode in on, fuck you. But Corona. And that it can come back. Ooh. Makes my dick stiff. You don't want my dick to get stiff. 5 things. Now, maybe you're the 6th thing. We'll have to see over time how you turn out, old-timer. But we had a kid that had an earring back in the day. When earrings were popular in junior high school, this would have been about 25 years ago. And he came to the house and he was looking for, they always wanted to know, when's your dad going to be home? Because they wanted to be around me because of the way I talked, the way I acted. And plus we had a magnificent estate overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And then he had an earring. And I told him, just one little one, a little cute little one. Sally said it was a cute little one. I didn't think it was so fucking cute. And I said, next time you come back here, don't wear a fucking earring. Months passed. Okay. I'm back there and the kid comes back, the same kid. He's a little taller, a little pudgier. He's got an earring. I say, hey, dipshit, come here. I ripped it out of his ear and ripped the earlobe off, this fat part. Blood everywhere. I go back to business and 2-3 hours later, Roof, our head maid, who used to be Zsa Zsa Gabor's maid, says, Mister, we got an irate man who probably has an earring in his ear on the phone. It was the guy's dad. And I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that because I'm gonna come over your house and rip your fucking ear off just like I did your kid, and I'm gonna shove it up the ass of your wife. Click. Never heard from him again. Would I have really ripped the ear? Yes, for him. Would I really shoved it up his wife's ass? Is his wife available? There's some other question. But they came back, and now when I see them, they're adults. They walk by me like this. They don't have earrings, but my kids went to these high, posh, snooty fucking schools. Because they used to call me Dambo. Remember the movie Rambo? Well, if you go on the internet, not now, and you type in Danbo on YouTube, it's the film about me. And they used to call me Danbo because when I used to be a world-class big game hunter, which I'm not now. I haven't killed any animal, 4-legged animal since 1991, over 30 years. But I used to be the circuit. I went from long-distance running, marathon running, 100-mile races, to being, they don't call them white hunters anymore. I was last of the white hunters, to powerlifting, steroids, anabolic steroids. Was kind of my transition through making a bunch of money. But they used to call me Dambo. Botswana. You've probably seen it. Now, not about him. I'm not interested about questions about him. But anything about the Goomba Boys? Yes, sir.
In regards to the working capital, so then the working capital, it was they had to ask the bank, hey, I also need a loan for the
Well, no. You're selling the business, okay? You go to the bank and say, by the way, I read a book. I took a course. How come I don't have any goddamn working capital loan? And how come I don't have any motherfucking line of credit? And I'm Chinese. Are you trying to, is it because I'm a Chinaman? I'm black. I'm there. Why? I'm a one-titted woman. I got why? Are you discriminated against me? Boom, 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 boom. And now you got, before you leave the building, you got all that. I mean, I think it's bullshit that you can go in and play the race card. I think it's bullshit that you can go in and play the woman card. I think it's bullshit. I think that's not right. It's immoral on so many levels. I could talk from now until my birthday in August. But it's where we are. Like they say, don't fight the Fed. The Federal Reserve on Wall Street. Don't fight the tape. If all the economic indicators say we should be going up, but the motherfucking stocks are going down, don't fight the tape. We are where we are, so why aren't we stuffing our fucking pockets and our cavities with as much money as humanly possible? It's not illegal. I think it's shit, If I come back, I'm going to come back as a one-eyed, one-titted, one-legged, black veteran, woman veteran. I can check all the boxes at all the banks and come away with $2 zillion. If you're a vet in America today, I've never done this and I'm not recommending this. If you're a veteran, you can go to the SBA and get a I forget the proper name, a $250,000 unsecured, non-recourse loan for your service. I think that's good. I've never done it, but I think it's good. There's 41 capital set-asides for veterans. 41. There's only 2 that anybody uses. GI Bill for buying a house and GI Bill for going to school. Those are the only 2 that are used of the 41. There's 39 others. There's hundreds of millions and billions every year that aren't used in the other 39 set-asides for veterans. Not used. For 8 years, last month, I've tried to do a deal called Boots to Suits. And I don't try like you try. I mean, I spent a lot of fucking money. I've had pilot films made. I mean, I went all out. And I have not, to date, been able to sell the government on the idea of having Boots to Suits, meaning how you transition from the military, not to go to work for IBM. They got plenty of those courses. Translate from the military to be an entrepreneur. Boots to Suits. It's fallen on deaf fucking years. I've talked to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, you name it. And I've talked to them. They're not interested. They're not interested. Haven't given up. 8 years. That's how my TV program came about. Well, we don't like that, but will you do this? No. We don't like that, but will you do this? And so finally I agreed to one that if I live long enough, it'll get filmed. And I have, the largest talent agent, and I've got all these people that don't do shit. I mean, they're all, yes, worthless. I hope you're watching this. But 39 that aren't used. But speaking of, I normally say this the last day. If you're not a moron, you got to have a woman on your board. I'm just telling you how it is. Unless you're a moron, you got to have somebody of color on your board. Now, don't ask me the question, well, if we have a black gal, does that cover two checks? It really does, but you should have a black, a brown, somebody, and a gal. And I've got a slide I don't use anymore. The gal on your board, you've got duct tape on her mouth, so she can't say anything. Now, that's an exaggeration, but I used to use it back in the 90s. But I'm a kind of gentle guy now. You can just tell that. 77. But you have to have ethnic and racial integration or distribution. I don't know the right word. Okay. Does a Punjabi count for, I don't know what a fucking Punjabi counts for. I don't know. But better if the Punjabi's got a thing, you know. And that shouldn't have to be. I don't believe in that in my heart, but I know economically, don't fight the tape. Don't fight the tape. So we have ethnic diversity. I'm not sure that's the right word to describe it. I don't know the right word to describe it. But there's a lot of qualified gals out there. I'm not, you know, there are. Not, you know, but there is no glass ceiling in my opinion. There's no glass ceiling. You know. But the gal that gets to be the CEOs of these big companies did work 2 or 3 times harder than the guy. And anybody that won't admit that, the gals just have to, you know, they can't be wrong. They can't do this. They can't be embarrassed. They can't, you know, all these things. And they really don't want you to get pregnant either, but they don't say that. They don't say that. Anything about the Goombas? Or for this guy, he's probably related to one of you. Does he look like Punjab maybe? You don't know.
A little bit relevant to the ethnicities that you mentioned. You mentioned
Which list?
No, about the ethnicities.
Ethnicity.
You mentioned before that there are some
There are 8,
certain ethnicities.
9, which I'm not going to say on YouTube. But as soon as the camera goes off, I'll tell you what they are. There's 9. 6 of them are represented in this room. Don't do business with them. I can't make it any clearer. Or another way of putting it, if my lawyer was writing my speech, do it at your own peril. Remember, a Chinese lawyer, it's his honor to lie for his client. It's his honor. Round face, black heart. And you wonder why the COVID numbers are all bullshit coming out of China. What are you smoking? The death numbers coming out of the people that got killed in Ukraine, the numbers from Russia, that's all bullshit. What are you smoking? 11 general officers have been killed in the Ukraine fight. 11. In the beginning, since Crimea War, that's the highest proportion of general officers killed to men on the ground of any war since the Crimea War. It's not possible. But you don't know any different, do you? Because you're a fucking thick shit. They should have fact checks, not on the presidents, but on the newscasters. But if it's true that 11 generals, something's a lot more wrong with the Putin's invasion than anybody even thinks. You know, I mean, there should be no generals lost by Russia. 11? And he's changed total leadership for his army. This last one's the 3rd time in less than a year. Something ain't right. Does he have cancer? I don't know. Is he going to die if somebody doesn't shoot him? Probably yes. But I mean, you guys, what are you smoking? Give me some of that shit so I can get high with you. I'm sure Doc can fix this up. You know, she's got all that shit down there, you know. They don't check the lockbox too often, you know. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Goomba brothers did that.
The Goombas.
Goombas. They did the 100% seller finance.
Yes.
In that situation, when do you get or are able to pull, profit out of it for yourself? Or
Well, they pulled $750,000 on day one because they went back to the bank that was the bank of the seller. Nobody knew the business better than the bank that's banked with them for 20 years. And that's in your scripts too. And they pulled out $750 working capital because there was no working capital, and they allowed the seller, which is often the case, can I keep the cash in the bank? When you're buying assets are cash equivalents, property, contracts, and it's an asset purchase. It's the cleanest form of purchasing because you're not responsible for past, current, and future liabilities. When you buy a company, ABC company or LLC, limited liability company, S Corp, C Corp, you're buying a company with its past, current, and future liabilities. We want to buy assets, but sometimes we can't buy assets. Why? Because in healthcare, there are licenses, the doc, they're in her name, which we discussed briefly the other night. Okay? And they always tell you they're easily transferable, which is a fucking lie. They're not easily transferable. Okay? So you'll wind up buying her company. So, she'll transfer the licenses to the company, and then you'll buy the company and have the licenses. But Florida is the second highest rate of fraud, medical fraud, in the United States of America. Second highest. First is New Jersey. So, I tell the kids, let's knock down the fucking prices. But even though I own a lot of healthcare assets, we don't own shit in Florida. And I'm an easier sale because they want to love me because my name's Peña. Don't touch me. What do you mean? I'm a Latino in name only. So you want to, but at the end of the day, you're going to do it just like the deal that you shouldn't do on the paper. You'll do anything. You'll sell your fucking, your daughter-in-law, she hasn't even had a kid yet. You'll do because you're desperate. Just like if I could put you in the ring and you just sat there and just let them beat you. Remember the Chinese guy that didn't walk out around the circle around the Grand Canyon? This isn't just for the Chinese kids or Asian. Remember what happened? He gets around to the other side and he stands there, hi kid, and they ran by him and says, we hate you, you're a coward. How do you live with that? Tough. I'm telling you the truth. The easiest way to get from A to B, and it's not a straight line, unfortunately. Pythagorean and whoever else fucking, it's hard. But it's not, and when you follow the steps, it's easier. But you got to follow the steps. Anything else about the Goombas? Did I answer your question? When we were down there, it looks like the Godfather going to dinner with his extended family. They've got a consigliere. It's just like the fucking Godfather. 2 generations of lawyers. Just like the fucking Godfather. Smoking in the restaurant you're not supposed to smoke in. You can't smoke in restaurants in Florida. We didn't know that. Not where we were. Like the Godfather, dun, 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 dun. And they walk like an entourage, But they followed the steps, begrudgingly. Because they didn't believe in, why should we pay these white people 50% more than we can get somebody else? Yep, in the back.
What's the difference between assets and a business asset?
This castle is in a trust. If I was going to sell it, which I couldn't, my trustees would have to sell it. But let's say my trustees wanted to sell this estate. It's in a trust. It comes in a package. It comes with all past, present, and future liabilities. Normally those are tax associated, okay? But let's say my trustees wanted to sell piecemeal. They wanted to sell the castle. They wanted to sell the pavilion. Those are assets within the trust. Those are assets within the company. In my case, it's not a company, it's a trust. So they could sell the pavilion. To the best of my knowledge, we have no liabilities on the pavilion. Maybe a gas bill or some shit, but we have no liabilities. Okay. But let's say we have a permit to give seminars. I don't think we do, but let's say we have a permit, and you wanted to continue to do seminar business here in the pavilion. You'd have to have that permit transferred. Now, I know we have nothing in my name, but it may be in the general manager's name or somebody's name. Or it may be associated with the asset. That's not likely, but if it was associated with the asset, then you could sell the pavilion with the permit to do seminars down the road. So there are assets. We want to do asset purchases. But in healthcare, it's quite often you can't do asset purchases because of the fact that you need permits, and the permits are not easily transferable. Andreas, we made, let's call it 30 acquisitions. I don't know if that's accurate, but it's around 30, 32, 35. We've made seller finance deals, and we've did corporate deals. Almost always the seller finance deals are deals that there weren't, in other words, they're not a psychiatric home health. They're not substance abuse home health, where there are more permits involved. We've stayed away from those. But assets are the easiest purchase for us. Assets are not the easiest sale for them. But remember, we're structuring these deals large, shareholder friendly. It's like, I don't know, there used to be a program a long time ago, people, EST, I think it was called. I know it was called EST, back in the 70s, where you'd go there and it was a precursor to wellness bullshit. You'd go there and you'd be in a big room like this, and you go there with couples, and they were supposed to, if you have marital problems or couple problems, bullshit. When you came in, no toilets. Locked up. And and you either aired your grievances, hopefully before you had to go potty, and normally the women had to go potty first. And I've been to a couple of S deals back in the 70s, back in the good old days. But there's easy ways to buy these companies' assets, but we're not going to be able to do that because we want them to come as clean as humanly possible without going to an S meeting. Unless you're old, you don't know what that means. An S meeting, okay? This is not an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. We don't forgive anybody. I mean, we're trying to buy the entity that produces the income for as low as humanly possible. They're trying to sell that same group of assets for as much as humanly possible. And we're not meeting in the middle. We're meeting at what the banks, the Federal Reserve, vis-a-vis interest rates, says the current market is for home health. Today, the current market for home health is 4 to 5 times EBITDA. Whether it's got paint falling off the ceilings or toilets that have fallen through the ground through rot. The nicer ones are getting 5 times. The shittier ones, pun intended, are getting 4. That's it. There's no negotiation. Now, I've already told the Goombas, they took a year to do that and it was a great deal. But if I didn't buy it in a week, I'm next. Because I know in 11 months and 3 weeks, I could have bought 5 of those. You don't know that yet. One, you haven't done a deal yet, but when you do a deal, and that's why you're going to do a bad deal, your first deal. You should be able to go through your funnel. Remember the guy that wants to think about it, you put him over in another funnel. Do you think Steve Jobs ever said, I got to think about it? Do you think Steve Jobs ever said, I'm working on it like you do? I'm working on not being a cunt. Well, exactly. Explain to me how you're doing that. How's that working out? You don't use tampons anymore? I mean, you're working on it. I've never heard a high-performance person in my 77 years ever tell me they're working on it. Because high-performance people don't work on shit. They take fucking action. And absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The fact that you, now see, who would you rather be trained by? Me or this piece of shit that should have been born? How's his fucking program working out? Piece of dog shit. I hope he sues me. I'll go on Anderson Cooper. Oh, please interview me. Doesn't he have rights, Mr. Mayor? Fuck no, not on my estate. He's got no fucking rights. Tonight, dinner's back in the regular room. Now, even though you like the mess hall, you know why you like it in there better? Because your lack of self-esteem is kind of melded together. And you have a group self-esteem. I tell you shit about yourself that you may have had nightmares about. Doesn't make it any less true. So we're going to eat back like civilized people. And I haven't forgotten Nick. But I mean, the bottom line of the Nick movie is he didn't know how to play tennis, and he was the greatest tennis coach of all time. Steve Jobs couldn't write code, and I can go on and on. Yet you want to know the why. Any questions before I leave you? Who's my 5:30, please? Yes, sir. 6. Yes, ma'am. 7. Okay, 6:30. Yes, sir. Okay, kids. Now, we can email this to you for those of you that want to put it on your screensaver. Is that what it's called? Yeah, we can email it to you. Is that what you want your son-in-law to look like? Is that what you want your daughter to marry? Is that what you want your son to look like?
I will print that from my doormat.
Doormat. I rest my case. Okay, guys, see you later.